The way education is imparted, types of courses, skills, learning, and development has undergone a massive transformation during the pandemic. Tech transformation and acquiring newer skill set took center stage. Revamp and the need for new education policy is imminent. At the inaugural session of the conference, we have eminent educators and leaders from across the industry who will share their insights on the education policy in the new normal. We have with us an eminent personality who needs no introduction, Dr. U.B. Desai, Founding Director, IIT Hyderabad, talking on innovation in academics. Dr. Desai received the B.Tech degree from Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur in 1974, an MS degree from the State University of New York, Buffalo in 1976, and a PhD degree from the Johns Hopkins University, Baltimore, USA in 1979, all in electrical engineering. He was the founding director of IIT Hyderabad from June 2009 to June 2019. For nearly 5 years, he served as the mentor director for Triple IIT Chittoor Sri City. He was also mentor director for IIT Bhilai during his initial setup phase. At present, he is professor emeritus at IIT Hyderabad. He is also the honorary professor at Woonsung University, South Korea, and also serves as a strategic consultant for TSDSCI, the Telecom Standards Development Society of India. An academic advisor to several institutions in India. With pleasure, let me welcome Dr. Desai.
Good morning, everyone. I'm indeed very grateful to DataQuest and my friend PG for giving me this opportunity to share my thoughts, on innovation in academics. Let me start off with the small cartoon. This is the situation in most universities today. When the mother is asking the kid, so what did you learn in school today? Not enough. They want me to go back tomorrow. Of course, this is for school, but it also holds for higher education. And the saying that I have is quite interesting. Do not confine your children to your own learning, for they were born in another time. And that's a perspective that we should keep in mind. I'd also like to share another quote. This is from Richard Feynman. And this is very important. Teach your students to doubt, to think, to communicate, to question, to make mistakes, to learn from their mistakes, and most importantly, have fun in their learning. In fact, in some sense, Feynman has crystallized what higher education should be in this small one-sentence quote. And it captures all the essence of it. All the commas and the phrases after the commas kind of capture the essence of what we should incorporate in a good learning, teaching and learning curriculum. So the point is that we need to think differently than the way we have been doing so far. And I'll try to present a few of my thoughts, which I believe are different, and see how we can incorporate in an academic program. Now, very quickly, what is a conventional notion of perceived knowledge of higher education? A perceived role of higher education, rather. Convey knowledge, create and develop ideas, create knowledge if possible. In fact, that is always the hope of a professor. Inject new thought into society, develop future citizens, create a better society, learning, to teach students how to learn rather than exactly what they have learned. Innovations in new technology, incorporate them, publish papers, develop prototypes, and if possible, products, so-called translational research, etc. You can add more items to it, or delete also. I mean, everybody doesn't have to agree with my list out here. So this is a common perceived role, but new things are coming into picture. For example, what is required today is a combination of technological know-how, problem solving, critical thinking. This I've picked up from a World Bank report, which appeared in 2019. And it's a very interesting report, which talks about these things. The second component that we need is soft skill. And these are not conventional soft skills that we talk about in terms of communication, writing. Obviously, they are there. They are perseverance, collaboration, and surprisingly, a new item which perhaps most of us have never thought of is empathy. And I think this empathy is very, very vital in the teaching ecosystem or in the learning ecosystem. Lifelong learning, everybody knows about it. And of course, the pandemic has now thrown new challenges, which perhaps 2 years ago we wouldn't have thought of, So the future may be hybrid. Personally, I don't think so. But anyway, this is open point, which I guess time will decide as to how we will go. So general philosophy to me, if I'm looking at academics today, what are the things that I would like to capture over and above what Feynman talked about? Breadth and depth, a lot of people do talk about that, so-called about the T education. There are pi education, other models, just a broad kind of categorization. Critical thinking and problem solving, which I mentioned in my previous slide. One thing I like is flexibility, and more so in India. Our Indian education is rather rigid and does not give you the opportunity to expand and look at different things. Once I select electrical engineering at age 17, I'm kind of stuck with it. The expectation is lifelong, I'm going to be stuck to electrical engineering, which is not very fair. Therefore, the curriculum has to be such that it gives me flexibility. In multidisciplinarity, this is being talked about a lot after NEP 2000. Wider choice of electives, again, that is talked about. What I believe is there should be early exposure to new science and technology. We spend too much time on some of the traditional basic things. In the process, the students lose a connect with us. Okay, and I think this connect can be established if we can focus on new technologies and new science. We should foster research at undergraduate level. This is not necessary that they are going to publish papers, but this is one way of teaching and learning. I think we have to keep in mind teaching and learning is not only through lecturing, but it can be through fostering research. I'll say a few more words on this as I go along. Learning by doing, the breaker lab. To me, this is a big thing. Everybody talks about a maker lab. I think India needs a breaker lab along with a maker lab, where you break things and learn. You get maybe a computer and break it apart, or a cell phone, take it apart and see what is inside. Somewhat akin to that movie, Three Idiots, where Rancho keeps on opening things up to see what is inside those refrigerators or various different technology boxes. Encourage creativity, design thinking, critical thinking. Okay, perseverance, collaboration, and empathy. I talked about it and I've added out here. That's for completeness. Okay. The other thing which I believe is a classroom structure has to change. We have classrooms which are rows and columns, and they always remind me of a sort of an army or a military drill, where we all stand in row and columns and move in rhythm. Now, that is not the greatest structure, though it has been there for a long time, for learning. Okay, I may convey information, but I may not be able to learn that much. So we need to change. I've given a pictorial representation of a classroom, which is actually being constructed in IIT Hyderabad. And this is what we had designed when I was IIT director. It tells you the sectional view of a 180-seater classroom. We need to have groups of students sitting around it. Of course, like-minded students will sit together. Okay. And what happens, the lectures are no longer monologue. Like my talk is a monologue, but they're not monologues. You talk for about 10, 12, maybe max 15 minutes, throw open a problem, throw open a question. Let groups, I hope you can see my cursor. Maybe let me see if I can get the laser pointer out here. Yeah, that's better. You can see out here. Okay. So they will discuss among themselves. Then after 10 more minutes, you have, okay, what is it that you have discussed? Some groups may present what they have done. Others. So the whole classroom becomes very interactive. Number two, these classrooms have to be smart classrooms. Now, smartness incorporates a lot of things, connectivity, interactivity, etc. And I'm saying hybrid, not in the conventional sense that we are thinking during the pandemic. Hybrid goes across universities. If there is a unique course being offered by IIT Delhi in a hybrid mode, why can't students in IIT Bombay or IIT Madras or IIT Delhi, IIT Hyderabad, or for that matter, Anurag University in Hyderabad, okay, cannot take advantage of it. One can work out a certain model how this can be worked in terms of the economics and other things. But the point is, how can I partake? See, internet has broken these barriers. I can put my lectures on the internet and everybody has access to it. NPTEL has done that in India. MIT has done it in the US, and many other institutions have done it. And it has made a big difference. We can make these live things also interactive across institutions. Besides having hybrid that I learn from home, some of them are in the classroom. I mean, that's a very small way of looking at it. Another big thing which will come in, it has not come, I'd expected it to come much earlier, taking a little longer, is augmented reality and virtual reality. AR, VR, I think, has to be brought in besides usual PPTs and presentations, videos, graphics, charts, and other things. This will make learning far more exciting, far more accessible to people. I can do experiments which otherwise I may not have the resources to do it. So I'm very big on AR, VR, and one has to focus on that. I also feel that we need to emphasize structured, unstructured learning. In India, the learning is highly structured. A, B, C, D. B comes after A, C comes after B, etc., etc. Thinking is not that way. Life is not that way. Life is highly unstructured, highly nonlinear, and we need to incorporate this in our teaching curriculum. This is not easy. In my opinion, this is a very big challenge. It is very easy for me to teach in a very structured manner, because that's how I write, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, introduction, etc., then conclusions, etc., the way that my talk is going. How do we create this unstructuredness? Because that is how creativity will come in. Creativity is not something very structured, that I sit in the morning at 11 a.m. and say by 11:30 I will create something. It doesn't work that way. Experiential learning, many have talked about, so I will not talk too much about it. And basically project-based learning by doing, solving problems, posing problems, tackling challenges, very similar to what Feynman's quote talks about it, to think, to doubt, to question, etc. In fact, to question is something we have forgotten in India. Professors don't like students questioning them. I think we need to create an environment where students can actually challenge professors, not just professors challenging students. It has to be a two-way thing. I think this can really change things around. Another component I would say is dynamism and modularity. Okay. Now, these are very, modularity is being talked about a lot. NEP 2000 also talks about quite a bit on modularity out here. Okay. Dynamism is something which I think we don't have, because quite often, even if you look at it, we don't keep changing things very quickly. So what I wanted was fundamentally education systems would be agile, quickly respond to changes in science, technology, and aspirations of the youth. And today, the aspirations of the youth is changing very rapidly. What the youth wanted 10 years ago or 5 years ago, today it's very different. Technology is dramatically different than what it was 5 years ago. Okay. Science also, a lot of development have taken place. Okay. Now, how do we constantly and continuously incorporate that in our curriculum, in our teaching program, in our learning program? This is a big challenge. Quite often we teach things which are like a century old, 50 years old, and students get a little bored because they have access to internet. They can do much better. The access for them is very good. Information access is ubiquitous, right? So the idea of learning and teaching should not only be information conveying information. It should be more of these sort of things. Modularity is important. I think, whatever one may debate over this, people don't have patience to, go through a 42-hour course. Okay, I'll talk a little bit about fractal academics, which is essentially this modularity concept that we implemented at IIT Hyderabad. Okay. This is another part, that again, this is related to flexibility, mobility, non-linearity, and design thinking. Design is a little separate part, though I put it on the same slide. Mobility, credit and mobility system. Again, NEP talks, 2000 talks quite a bit about it. Okay. So 2020 rather, sorry, NEP 2020 and not 2000, NEP 2020 talks quite a bit about it. I won't spend too much time on mobility and all. The idea being that, if I move from one place to another, move from one discipline to another, I should be able to carry my credits with me. To me, mobility is something more than that. Suppose I register at age 17, after clearing certain whatever requirements are there, into, say, computer science. A year later, I realized, man, this is not my calling in life. Or 2 years later, I realized this is not my calling in life. Will the university permit me to move? Okay, say from computer science to aerospace engineering. I'm giving this example because I actually had a student who took electrical engineering at IIT Bombay because his rank was very good, but his heart was always in aerospace. He finally did his PhD in the US in aerospace. So US permitted him to be admitted to a PhD program in aerospace with a BTech in electrical engineering. In India, that would be unthinkable. So what I meant by mobility is I should kind of have the option of moving around. I know people who did electrical engineering and went and did economics, went and did finance. Why can't we create that sort of structure within India itself? US permits that. Non-linearity, flexibility, and self-paced. Another thing I'll talk about, I talked about non-linearity and flexibility. I won't focus too much on that right now. Self-paced. See, here we assume that everybody has to graduate in 4 years. Yes, that's by and large a good thing. But students cannot give that particular option. We need to modulate. There are students who may just want to take a break from Kanyakumari to Kashmir. Okay, why can't we give that space, breathing space to the student and say, okay, you come back and pick up the threads, pick up the threads where you had left them, okay, and start from there. I think we don't give that option. In fact, it's considered to be a black mark. Hey, why did you take a semester drop right now? Is something wrong with it? I think there's nothing wrong with it. Design is very important. I think we need to incorporate design in our curriculum. With things like digital fabrication, interactive graphics, divide between creative design and engineering design is being bridged very quickly. Okay, so how can we incorporate? In fact, every student, whether it's engineering, I would say even if you are a student of liberal arts, humanities, you need to have some degree of design thinking. I think this changes your perspective also. And what I talked about, creative thinking will automatically come in if we incorporate design. And I'm not talking of design in terms of product design, mechanical engineering design, things like that. No, I'm talking about creative design, abstract things which may not have meaning except for the designer, and she has to convey it to others. I think that has to be incorporated. Evaluation. I'm just putting one slide. I think we are too harsh. We are too worried about everything is how am I going to grade this guy? In fact, quite often I feel our curriculum, our teaching and our learning is governed based on evaluation methodology. I think we can be rather soft on evaluation. I don't think dramatically things are going to change. Student is not going to hurt. He will learn or she will learn as much, even if we have soft evaluation. A bell-shaped curve will exist irrespective of your evaluation methodology. Okay, there'll be some who will be very good. There'll be a large number around the median, and then some who will be not so good. Okay, so I think we need to go a little soft on it. This itself is a topic of separate discussion. So I'll just briefly mention this and move ahead. Another problem in India is that we pump too much information. I think we need to pump less. Typical load for a BTech as per AICTE, from what I recall, is 160 credits. IITs have approximately 150 credits. At IIT Hyderabad, we did a big study, and the three leading institutes in the world, you can see, Berkeley 121, Stanford 105, MIT 90. Here, each credit in the US is one contact hour. After a lot of debate, I was able to convince faculty at IIT Hyderabad, and then we had a band, 125 to 135. Computer science, electrical faculty, said we'll do 125, while many other departments decided to go closer to 135. But I think we just pump. Our approach in India is if I pump information, that means I have done my job and the students have learned. No, that is not true. Okay, I think quality is very important. So pumping less information may actually give you better value. This is a quick thing on fractal academics that we talked at IIT Hyderabad. This changed things around quite a bit. In the sense, modularity was brought in, and lots of interesting things were brought into the picture using this. This has been a success. We tried it for many years. It's still going on. So a novel academic program which was launched, the courses that are there, they need not be a conventional 3 contact hours or 3 credit courses. They could be 1 credit or 2 credit. They can even be 0.5, 1.5, 2.5 or 3. Essentially, the number of contact hours in the whole course, in a 3 credit course is 42. You could have a course of 7 hours, 14 hours. We went in multiples of 7 after we reached 42. And we had broken a semester into 6 segments. Okay. Many high-tech courses can be taught very early by having this modularity. I can teach, for example, 3D printing. I can teach drone technology in the very first year. I don't have to wait till the final year and have a special elective on it. And it became a grand success at IIT Hyderabad. We can talk a lot more about it. This will also facilitate interdisciplinary learning because I have an introductory course of a 14-hour module on, say, for example, 3D printing. Everybody will take it. Not just mechanical engineers who focus more on that, but even computer scientists, electrical engineers, everybody will take it. And this actually happened in a course on signal processing and communication at IIT Hyderabad. Okay. Large baskets of non-technical courses. I think we need to create that particular part and link it up in some form. Let liberal arts and creative arts. For example, this is an example which shows, so for example, in the first semester, I'm just giving one slide. I have a full picture out here, but due to paucity of time, I'm not going. So these arrows kind of indicate that the course, for example, independent project is 1 credit, but it spans through the whole semester. Essentially, it has supposed to have equivalent of 14 contact hours, but you can work right through the whole semester. Digital fabrication is 2 credits. It again spans through the whole semester. 1 credit is done for a CAD design part of it, the CAD part of it. And the second half, another 14 hours, they actually fabricate something right in the very first semester. And you should see the joy on the students, in the students' eyes when they actually fabricate something using 3D printers and what they gain. And of course, you can go on. As I said, for example, signals and communication. Okay, this course was taught out here. It's a 14-hour module in segment 5 and 6. And here we had students, though taught by electrical, students from mechanical, students from civil, students from chemical, everybody came. Because this is basics. Today, signal processing is used by everybody. Internet of Things. We talk about this is something very special. Something has to be only in the 4th year elective. We were able to do this in first semester in a 14-hour module to get the gist of it. Advanced things, you do it in 3rd and 4th year, etc. These are the creative art courses we had. And by design, these were taught by people from outside. Things like introduction to theater, ceramics, music, Madhubani painting. We had people coming from all over India and teaching it. And I don't know what the current status is, but during my time, it was a big hit. Students used to really love this particular thing, to the extent that, student number management became an issue out here. We had to curtail the numbers as it's given on the right-hand side, depending on what kind of a course that we had. So to conclude, I would say flexibility is a big thing. Fractal academics is a big success. I think others should try it out. They can incorporate their own innovations into it. It doesn't have to be ditto as to what they do it. And I think it can really make a big difference the way the fractal academics was developed at IIT Hyderabad. Learning by breaking and learning by making, I think that is to me very, very important. Get excitement, make education fun. Okay, as Feynman says, most importantly, learning and education should become a fun thing to do rather than a drudgery, as was there in my first cartoon out there. Okay, so I'll stop with another quote, which is not a favorite quote, and it quite deep in some sense, applies to the rest of my talk also. A truly great library contains something in it to offend everyone. When you question things, obviously you're going to offend the person who's standing on the stage. And we should accept that. Okay, otherwise you can never have people questioning you. So I'll stop at this particular point. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And if there are any questions or other things, anytime you can email it to me. I'll see what best I can do.
Thank you, Dr. Desai, for those words.